On this week's episode, King's Landing is burning. Who got dissed in Avengers Endgame? And what happened to your favorite show this TV season? All this and more as we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He is our own Jon Snow of Humanica Media. You got to check out everything that's going on today at humanicamedia.com, Humanica Media on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and so much more. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
What's going on, man? Just got done watching a gut-wrenching episode of Game of Thrones, and I'm still trying to recover emotionally.
And so am I, and so is a lot of other people. We're going to be talking about that on the back end of the program. It is going to be very spoiler heavy on the latest episode of the Game of Thrones. We're actually in the last two episodes of Game of Thrones. We're going to give you updates on our Monday program. So not only this weekend, but not only this week, but next week as well. So stay tuned for that. Again, it is going to be spoilerific for the next to last episode of the Game of Thrones. That's coming up on the back end of the program. Before that, we do have Jessica Boggs from the TVRatingsGuide.com. She's going to be stopping by to talk about the upfronts that took place last week, what shows made it, what shows didn't, and what shows are coming up in the near future and coming to TV screens here in the near future. Also, as well, we're going to be talking about what characters that we would have liked to have seen better represented in Avengers Endgame. Were there some that really got shortchanged? Were there some that were even MIA altogether? We're going to be talking about that a little bit later on as well. But first, my friend, real quick, we're going to touch on the latest battle at the box office with Detective Pikachu facing off against the third week of Avengers Endgame. I told you, my friend, this week would be the do or die, live or tell type of scenario for Avengers Endgame and whether or not it will or will not pass Avatar for the all-time box office. Well, unfortunately, it kind of underperformed at the box office this weekend, dropping a little bit steeper than a lot of analysts have predicted to just a little over $60 million at the box office and a little over $100 million worldwide, which was almost right around the point of what Detective Pikachu, which had one of the best starts ever for a video game adaptation, pretty much both had the same type of returns at the box office. As of now, Avengers Endgame worldwide is around $2.5 billion strong, which, obviously is an incredible number. It's just a tremendous number that, everybody should be thankful and hitting. But for those that wanted Avengers Endgame to surpass Avatar for the number one slot all time, still about a little under 300 million to go. I don't think it's going to do it, my friend.
I still have faith, man.
I mean, it would have to have some legs, because if it only did 100 million this weekend and there's still 300 million to go.
But think about it, though. There are people going, it's their second viewing, third viewing. I tried to go see it again this past weekend, couldn't get into the movie theater. Every showing was sold out. So I feel like it still has some power behind it. And, of course, Detective Pikachu is going to do well because it's a big pop culture property, much like not in the vein of Avengers, but it's getting some hype. It's got some star power behind it, and it's something that parents are taking their kids to see, so it's getting some momentum. But I still think that Avengers has a lot of life in it because I've never been to a movie and then not been able to get tickets to see it 2 weeks after it comes out. Like that absolutely astounded me yesterday.
I will give you that point because I too tried to go see it this weekend. In fact, I ultimately did, but we had to pass up several shows of reserved seating theaters because of the fact that there were several shows that were sold out of the good seats. I mean, we're talking about 30, 40, 50 seats all booked up already still for Avengers Endgame. And that is great to see. But I'm just concerned over the long haul that it will not be able to go ahead and just overtake Avatar. I'm going to probably lean no. I don't think it's going to be able to make up or recoup the nearly $300 million that it has to still do, because it's not going to become the number one all-time movie at the domestic box office. Star Wars: The Force Awakens, on a comparable basis in the number of days, has now surpassed Avengers Endgame, and it looks like Avengers Endgame will probably be the number 2 all-time here in the U.S. So that means it's probably going to have to do over $2 billion in the worldwide box office outside of the U.S., and that's a tough thing to ask for any picture, much less Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, like this is not something that I've ever encountered before. Not being able to go see movies, still seeing it packing out movie theaters. So I'm not going to say that it's not going to make it into see against his maybe power all those records, but I think it still has a lot of legs left on it before we start counting it out.
I hope so, my friend. I'm hoping just being negative nilly for no reason. I hope I will be proven wrong. Believe me, because I want to, and I actually might go see it again just for good measure, just in case for a fourth time, because that's how much I enjoyed the film and how much I wanted to beat Avatar. So we'll have to wait and see. But there's good signs for Detective Pikachu, and it could be on its way to becoming the biggest video game adaptation movie ever. And that's a great sign for video game movies, that maybe now Hollywood will take actually more seriously because of the success of Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, I mean, are you going to go see Detective Pikachu? Because I'm
I've been
hearing.
asked to see it. Yes, I was trying to get it this weekend, but our problems with Avengers Endgame finding a seat there precluded our situation trying to find a seat for Detective Pikachu. But I will be going to see it.
I'm hearing good things. So I was actually going to ask you this. Since all big theaters now are doing reserved seating, what is the function of the people working in the box office?
Well, I still go purchase things myself at the box office because I don't like paying the extra fees of Fandango and all the other online entities that are out there. And truth be told, when I couldn't find a seat that I liked, or find 4 seats that I liked for Avengers Endgame at the reserve seating theaters, I went back to our good old friends at the Samstown Movie Hall, where we saw it the first time, and checked it out there because it's on a non-reserve first seat, first come first serve basis. So that's old school, mind you, but they're still around still around anywhere you can try to find them. But yes, with the way that Fandango, AMC.com, and so many other different online outlets are at, it doesn't make much sense having that many box office personnel unless it's really heavy, unless it's really heavy volume, like the first couple weeks of Avengers Endgame, or maybe like, for instance, down the road later this year when Star Wars Episode 9 comes out. But for guys like me that like to save a couple bucks, and in fact, my friend, when you're buying from Fandango, when you're buying for like 4 tickets or whatnot, that's like an extra $10. I'll drive down to the theater for that price.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, it's hard to, because think about it, when tickets go on sale. Avengers Endgame crashed all these websites. When tickets go on sale, you're gonna have this fear in the back of your head that you're not gonna be able to find the get a seat to the movie you want to see. So I don't know. I don't.
Are you still there? Are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I lost you completely for like 5 seconds, but that's okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no. So what was saying is, I like the reserve seating system, but I also don't, because it's kind of it makes it so it doesn't matter what time you get to the movie theater. If you didn't buy a ticket online, you're not going to get a good seat.
And those days I've romanticized about so many times, is in regards to waiting for all those, waiting for all those hours to go ahead and see the next great picture. Like I did for Avengers Endgame. I got a chance to go ahead and be there 2 hours early while I was waiting for all you guys to really just, run the clock and get there. As I do remember, thank you very much, that that those times will be in the distant past, those type of moments will be in the rearview mirror in the not too distant future. I can tell already. But yes, all those online entities are going to dominate the future going forward. And you're right, the thrill of just waiting in line, talking to random people about a great showing, a great movie coming up that everybody's excited for. Those moments in time will probably be leaving us real soon. But for now, we've got some great times indeed coming up because, like I said, Detective Pikachu is still doing very well in theaters. Avengers Endgame, it's still doing pretty good, but we'll have to wait and see if it does eventually pass Avatar for the all-time record. And with John Wick 3 Parabellum and the Memorial Day weekend movies coming up in the not too distant future, like Godzilla and Aladdin, it's going to be very, very, very interesting to see if Avengers Endgame will actually have enough legs to become the number one movie all time at the box office. What are your thoughts out there on Pikachu? What are your thoughts out there on Detective Pikachu and Avengers Endgame battling it out at the box office? Do you still think that Avengers Endgame can climb up that mountain and become the number one movie all time, surpassing Avatar? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, coming up next, we've got so much to talk about when it concerns the TV upfronts, and who better to talk about that than our great friend Jessica Boggs from the TVRatingsGuide.com. And then after that, on the back end, Josh and I are going to be talking some Game of Thrones because, oh my gosh, King's Landing. What can you say? It was a great episode, and we're going to talk all about it. We're going to talk all about it on the back end of the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're about to close out the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. Want to thank Jessica Boggs again from the TVRatingsGuide.com. You got to check out all the great stuff that they're doing today at the TVRatingsGuide.com. As for us, if you need a listing of where we're at, because we're being played all around the world 7 days a week on so many different great radio stations, check out our listings today at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, where you'll also get a listing of many of our other great podcasting options as well. My friend, you've got a great thing going on with Humanica Media. So share the goods, my friend. What's going on with your great experience known as Humanica Media?
New Topicocalypse is out. So we did, I forget what the episode's about. Oh, we're talking about Star Wars, what we changed in the Star Wars narrative. And then this past weekend, we recorded a Borderlands, I guess you'd call it a Let's Play type thing, but we're going to be also releasing that in podcast form. So stay tuned for that, and make sure you're following us on the social medias.
That's right. It's Topicocalypse, now available on so many different podcast outlets. My friend, it was a great episode for the Game of Thrones. I finally got an episode that I really felt that I could get into. I really wasn't, I thought it was okay, the Battle of Winterfell, but like many, I think I was a little bit underwhelmed by it. I know you were, at least that's the sense I got when we were talking together on the Battle of Winterfell on a previous episode of the PCC Multiverse. But it was the Battle of King's Landing, which to me just looked like a slaughter. And there's so much to talk about when it comes to it. Your thoughts on the Game of Thrones Battle of King's Landing? And it looks like somebody's gone mad for the throne and mad for the Iron Throne indeed.
Well, you're finding like Daenerys, you sympathize with her, right? You've been sympathizing with her through this whole journey, and then you see that moment, that break. Like it was slowly happening, but then you see it like when Tyrion was like, when you hear the bells ring, call off the attack. And Cersei heard the bells ring, but she was or Daenerys heard the bell ring, but she was too uh dead set on her.
She was had so much rage going through her.
She did, and it's all thanks to that the Missandei and the dragon dying in the last episode. And I think that she was trying her hardest to avoid that madness that her older brother Rhaegar had. But it just goes to show you it's in her veins, or not, not physically, but like it's something that's inherent in her, is madness. And then you're noticing all these other characters like Jon Snow. You have the Onion Knight, Tyrion going, "Oh, maybe I made the wrong decision. Even that opening scene where they execute Varys, and you hear Varys go, "I hope I'm wrong," and that was kind of foreboding in itself. But it's I don't know, man. Like it was almost hard to watch. You know, you're seeing Daenerys flying around, slaughtering all these people. Like, did she didn't need to do that. It's like she's not in her senses, I guess. Like, so she's flying around slaughtering innocent people. Um, you know, and what Grey Worm is out there leading the charge against people who have surrendered, and there's a lot going on. It just goes to show like how mad the Iron Throne makes people, like what it does to people. So you're seeing Daenerys become Cersei, and that was a very interesting dynamic to me.
Well, it was very interesting because when the battle started, the Iron Fleet was totally devastated by Daenerys and the dragon, and the dragon also was responsible for taking care of much in the way of the Golden Company in front of King's Landing itself. And there was a point in time, like you said, where it could have been stopped, it could have been halted at just that, with with very little civilian life lost, and it could have been stopped because the bells were ringing, and it was thought it would be agreed upon that when the bells start ringing, that would be a surrender and a ceasefire. And actually, you saw the rest, or what there was left of Golden Company, lay their arms down at the the hands of Jon Snow's troops right there. But unfortunately, it didn't come to pass because of the rage of Daenerys and her incessant drive and madness towards whatever she wanted to go ahead and accomplish, because she then decimated King's Landing time and time again with the fire from the dragon as they breathed down and killed everything in sight virtually. In the middle of it all was Arya Stark, and trying to survive, and seeing the survival of her from her perspective and vantage point and point of view really was very interesting, because she was there in the middle of it with the intent of killing Cersei. And what, three-quarters of the way through, she was stopped and told to turn around, correct?
What did you think of that though? Because I feel like
That was kind of a little bit of a
it
puzzler,
was
because Arya is the cold-blooded killer.
right, but it was a weird thing for her because her whole story has been developing into, you know, making her death, you know, the physical embodiment of death, and that's been
But
her thing. She's going to kill Cersei, and then all it took was you know, Clegane to go, you know,
better
I'm
not do
sure.
this. Better not go up there. Let me handle it,
Yeah,
because I'm
right.
dying. And if you want to die, you go up with me. If you don't, you stay.
And then all of a sudden her character does a whole turnaround where she's running through the city, and she's scared, like she's never been scared, but she's terrified here. It was a very, very weird thing.
Character turn.
It almost felt like they were doing it just for dramatic effect. I felt the same thing when the Kraken washes up on shore when Jaime Lannister is trying to get to Cersei. Like, what were the odds that he would wash up right there? Yeah, I felt the same thing in the last episode where when they got Missandei. Like that didn't make any sense to me. It felt like some of this stuff there. You know, I know they have a lot of narratives open, but there's some things they're doing that just feel far too convenient, very like something that a CW writer would do.
And you notice there was also, like you said, the climactic battle between Jaime right in front of the boat that could have taken Jaime and Cersei away. And there was a climactic battle there, and there was a death, and there was also, what was it, Siron? Siron, or the
Wait, which one?
Jaime battling, the one where he,
The Kraken. Yeah, I forget
oh,
what it's.
I thought it was Siron, Caeron.
Um, well, you might have to edit this out. Uh, Shoot, hold on, hold on.
because he announced
Euron. Sorry.
So Euron, like you said, was, they had a battle. He, after being blown off of his ship by the dragon from Daenerys and his whole Iron Fleet destroyed, he manages to wash up in the same shore that Jaime Lannister is at, getting prepared to go ahead and take Cersei and run away, or sail away, excuse me, to safety. So before that even happens, they have a climactic battle where Jaime eventually kills him, but Jaime has these what 2-3 mortal wounds that would normally kill somebody from a blood loss, but he manages to go up all the way in town, all the way up to the castle, meet up with Cersei, and then they come all the way down before they ultimately meet their ends by eating some rocks. Correct?
Yeah, but I mean, they kept doing that editing thing with Arya. We don't know if they're dead. They might not be dead, but it
But
seemed
Jaime
like
should have been dead from that, because one of those shots was a real good one.
right, and it showed Euron as he was dying. He's going, "I'm the man that killed Jaime Lannister." It, I don't know, man. Like some of these deaths weren't really that satisfying. What was interesting to me was seeing these people who swore allegiance to Daenerys, and they're seeing like what she's doing. Like she was even, did you see when John was getting them to escape? Like she was even mowing down her own people.
That's correct. I saw that. Yes.
Did you see the scenes from next week's episode?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
they showed where were all the Unsullied? Like there was a lot standing on the steps to King's Landing. Where were they in the battle? I thought a lot of them got slaughtered back at Winterfell.
Exactly. And then you thought as well that not only were the Unsullied, for the most part, like you said, decimated in the Battle of Winterfell, but the Dothraki, which we thought virtually for the most part was also decimated at the Battle of Winterfell, seemed to have a lot of Dothraki just popped up ready for battle. So, I don't know. I don't know. It just, some of it, if the little bits and pieces doesn't make sense, but the overall picture for me, I just kind of liked it. First off, the fact that I could see it clearly was kind of cool. That to me was probably the best part of it, because seeing in the dark in the Battle of Winterfell was not exactly the grooviest thing in the world. But I like the fact that the dragon finally got a chance to go ahead and be the devastating force that you and I both knew it should be, in order for it to come across as something that over the course of many seasons has drifted on and drifted on and drifted on. And now we actually see the dragons in a forceful tone and in a forceful point in time where they could be the devastating force that we know they should be. And now with what's going on with Jaime and Cersei supposedly looking like that the whole cave that they were in when they were trying to escape collapsed because they were trapped. And then we also saw Clegane meeting his older brother, and that was a battle to the death. That
was good. That was
that was probably the best part. That was probably the best part. So describe to me in detail a little bit about Clegane's choice in meeting up with his brother and the ultimate doom that they both unfortunately fell upon.
Well, so he met him on the stairs. The Mountain kills Qyburn, which was kind of weird to me because I was expecting Qyburn's one of those characters. It wasn't a satisfying death. He's one of those like villains that just you wanted to see something. I don't know. This sounds bad, but I want to see something worse happen to him because he's the anti Michael Crichton, right? He's the guy who does things just because he can. So he kills Qyburn. Cersei goes down the stairs, and then the Mountain and Clegane fight each other. And then what's interesting about that, did you notice how he kept laughing when the Mountain's helmet came off?
Exactly. He just thought, you know what, this is just too crazy. But then again, this is what I'm going to be dying for. So at this point in time, it was just a matter of, was he going to die? Was the Mountain going to die? But in this case, it looked like with everything blowing up around them, I think that was the fitting end where both ended up dying.
Right, but my theory on that was that he saw that his brother was basically already dead, so that made his entire existence and everything he was striving for seem, I don't know if ironic is the right word, but like a waste of time. So like I think that's what made him laugh and then ultimately decide, we're here. Why not? And it's kind of a fitting end to see his brother go into the flame the same way he ruined the Clegane's face when they were kids.
Exactly. And it was funny where it was almost like a zombie like mode where he kept getting the mountain with a sword, fatal blow after fatal blow, and it just wasn't having too much of an effect on the mountain.
Yeah, because he's already dead. What would have been a good plot twist is if he was looking up at the mountain and all of a sudden the mountain's eyes turned blue.
There you go. There you go.
Ooh, ooh, I
But
should be writing this show.
there you should be writing this show. Anyways, last thing before you start pitching to HBO the Game of Thrones sequels that you're writing up is the your overall thoughts on this episode, because it is the devastation of King's Landing. There is very little left to oversee as far as that's concerned, but it obviously leads into the final climactic points in time on who is ultimately taking up the Iron Throne. I had told you before, my friend, I thought Jon Snow would be too easy of a choice. I think him and his noble ways, I don't know. I just don't see it as I just don't see it as the cool way to end the show. To end the show when they've tried so many daring things over the course of their series, I just think that Jon Snow ending up on the Iron Throne is the ultimate ending for the show. I just don't think I like it very much. I think I would like to see an alternative, because Daenerys, now that she's gone mad, no one's going to support her, or not enough support in time. And I think at some point, Jon Snow has to go ahead and save the day.
Oh, he will, and that's kind of a thing that I don't know if that's how George R. R. Martin would have ended it, but I feel like this is, now after they started deviating from the books, like it became the writing became for television. So I'm looking at the way some of the choices they're making, and I don't see that being something that George R. R. Martin would write. So I'm not if everything feels more formulaic than it did back when the show was starting. And I totally think that Jon Snow's he's gonna take the throne. The last battle is gonna be between them and the Unsullied. Obviously you saw the Unsullied guarding the steps, so Daenerys not gonna trust the Northmen anymore, and that's fine. So I think that there's going to be a battle between Daenerys' forces and whatever's left of everybody else. Because in a way, she is worse than the White Walkers. Like you saw how easily she combed through everyone, how she did it without even blinking. Um, so that's where I'm seeing this end. Maybe Arya's gonna kill her and save the day again. I don't know. Also, what did you think about the horse being there? I feel like Bran had something to do with that, but that's just my theory.
I agree with you on that. That all of a sudden that horses in all the chaos, the horse is there to ride, to get Arya to safety. I think there is something to that, and I think Bran, who was absent from the entire episode, I think that's a sign that he was maybe able to go ahead and summon the horse to go ahead and pick Arya up to go ahead and put her in a position to be safe, because she had been through the entire battle. But you're right, her turn wasn't exactly the best thing in the world, especially for someone that was so, I guess, I don't know, blood out for blood. That's someone that was so out for blood. I didn't exactly like the turns of some of the other characters as well, but overall, I thought it was I thought it was a better episode than the Battle of Winterfell for me. I think it does send a message on what's going on for the final episode. That you're right, there is a climactic battle coming up between the slowly maddening Daenerys and also the noble Jon Snow. Well, I think Arya is still going to have something to do with it.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, but it's still at this point in time, it's very tough to figure out what is going to go on exactly. But we have our ideas. Overall, I thought it was a better episode than the Battle of Winterfell. I think I'm going to give it a little bit bigger thumbs up than the Battle of Winterfell, but not a whole lot more. But yes, I did enjoy it a little bit more.
Have you noticed, like, after the Battle of Winterfell, you keep running into these scenarios where they're building up these really epic like fight scenes, and they're not that epic. They instead of showing this big old battle, all of a sudden you see the dragon just go through and mow everyone down. So there's no fighting at all. It's just
It was
happening.
a slaughter.
Yeah, it was a slaughter, but I almost feel like I was cheated out of something because, again, that's something the whole show has been building to is this epic battle between King's Landing and everybody else, and then I feel like we got robbed of that.
I agree with you on that for the sense that last week's episode set itself up for a much larger and much tougher conflict than what you actually ended up seeing. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. I think it should have been, like you said, a little bit more of an even battle before Daenerys' forces and her dragon came out on top. Otherwise, like you said, it was just otherwise it was just a slaughter for all intents and purposes, and it looked like it was no match at all. When the previous week, a lot of people were assuming that it would be somewhat different. All right. What are your thoughts out there on the next to last episode of the Game of Thrones? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, coming up on our Friday program, we're going to be talking John Wick 3 Parabellum. Josh is also going to give you his thoughts on the Assassin's Creed DLC that he just finished in detail. Any last thoughts on the way out?
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this. If you're one of those people who is saying, you're very serious about people not spoiling Game of Thrones and now you're spoiling Game of Thrones, don't be those people. I keep going online. I'm seeing the headlines pop up. I'm going on social media, seeing everyone go, sorry, even reacting to an episode going, wow, that death, that is a spoiler. Even the vaguest of vague things when it comes to Game of Thrones is a spoiler. So be courteous, be kind, don't spoil things.
Because it was all over social media emanating from people on the East Coast that had already seen it.
Right.
And, my wife was already reading a little bit of it. I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Oh my gosh, that death. Why would you say that? Like, what? Be courteous. Come on. Unless you're like doing a spoiler cast like we're doing.
Exactly. Where we give you
Yeah.
in advance that we're going to be telling some spoilers.
Exactly.
So it's going to be a great week for us. We're going to try and drop, if we can, some extra stuff on our Pop Culture Cosmos podcast channel. You can also check me out, every chance I can. Usually Wednesdays on the Big Daddy Road Show talk show on the Big Daddy Road Talk Show on Wednesdays. Check me out there. My thoughts on pop culture, and also right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.